My name is Amanda Collins. I never imagined the words that would break my world would come from the lips of my 6-year-old daughter, and barely louder than a whisper. It was Thanksgiving, the first time in 3 years I had dared to bring Emma back to the house I'd grown up in. A 2-story colonial in Bloomington, Indiana. The kind with chipped shutters and a porch swing that creaked even when the wind was still. My mother, Patricia, called it the heart of the family. For me, it had always felt more like a house full of ghosts dressed in holiday sweaters. Emma clutched her stuffed bunny, the one missing an eye, and her tiny fingers wrapped around mine like we were entering enemy territory. The porch light flickered. "It smells like pie in there, Mommy," she said, soft as breath. I smiled and nodded, but my heart felt like it had steel claws wrapped around it. Inside, everything looked the same, down to the crooked picture frames and the fake flower arrangement my sister once swore made the house look tasteful. But everything felt smaller, like the walls had pulled in tight over the years, steeped in too many conversations cut short, too many secrets varnished over like the hardwood floor. Patricia gave me one of those brittle, perfumed hugs. "Amanda, you look tired. Long drive?" What she meant was, "Don't bring your mess into my house." My sister, Danielle, was already in the dining room, arranging the silverware as if it were an Olympic event. She wore her usual "I'm better than you" smile and said, "Wow, you made it," and brought Emma, too. We took our seats around the big cedar table, the one my late father built when I was 12. Emma was sent to sit at the far end with her younger cousins, but she hesitated. Her lips pinched. She didn't want to let go of my hand. "What's wrong, baby?" I bent down and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. She looked up, her voice barely a tremble. "If I sit down, my private part will hurt." Silence fell so fast it cracked. My fork slipped from my hand, clattering against my plate. Danielle laughed uncomfortably. "She's always been dramatic." My Uncle Brian let out a snort and muttered, "That's Amanda's side for you." I crouched beside Emma, ignoring the glares. "Sweetheart, are you hurting now?" She nodded, just once. Her eyes are glossy. "We're going to the bathroom, okay?" I whispered. No one offered help. Someone blessed the cranberry sauce while I guided my child out of the room with a hand on her back, feeling eyes dig into my spine. In the hallway, past the family portraits and the scent of too many holidays, I locked the bathroom door and helped her out of her tights. There, along the crease of tender skin, was a Ron. It's not a fall from the playground kind of scrape. No, this was different. I knew that shade. I'd spent time volunteering at a local shelter, seen too many wounds like that on too many little girls who said they fell. Did I do something bad? Emma's voice trembled. I felt something break inside me. "No, no, baby. You did nothing wrong." I pulled her to my chest and just held her, counting her breaths until mine settled. When I walked back into the hall, Patricia was waiting. "Amanda, is this necessary? Dinner's getting cold." "Emma's not well. We're stepping out." "You always have to make a scene." I ignored her, tucked Emma into the guest room, gave her the bunny, and kissed her forehead. "If you get scared, squeeze bunny, okay? I'll be right outside." She nodded, face flushed with confusion and shame no child should ever carry. Then I stepped onto the porch and pulled out my phone. My hands shook so hard I nearly dropped it. I dialed 911. "My daughter needs help," I said. "I think something has been happening to her. Please, please send someone." 10 minutes later, the night lit up with blue lights. The front yard flickered like a crime scene from a movie. Except it was real, and it was mine. 2 officers climbed the steps. An EMT followed, bag in hand. Patricia opened the door, looking like she'd swallowed a lemon. "Did someone faint?" she asked, too loud. "My daughter needs a medical exam. She's in the guest room." "You're overreacting," Danielle hissed, heels clacking toward me. "This is insane," Uncle Brian muttered. "Unstable people shouldn't have kids." The EMT knelt beside Emma. She spoke gently and asked permission. Emma nodded. The bathroom door clicked shut. A silence so thick I could barely breathe fell over the hallway. Every second felt like a razor across my skin. When the EMT came out, her face was pale. She looked at me, eyes full of something I'd never seen on a stranger before. Maybe sorrow, maybe fury. "There's been touching," she said. "Repeatedly." I felt the floor tilt. "She named someone," she continued. My throat locked. "Who?" "Your brother-in-law, Brian." It felt like the air cracked open. I didn't scream, didn't collapse. I just stood there, bones locked in place. "Thank you," I whispered. "Please, please stay with her." The officers turned toward Brian. Patricia stepped between them. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "Brian would never—" Danielle clawed at my sleeve. "You're tearing this family apart." Brian, smug as ever, said nothing. The officer calmly read his rights. The cuffs clicked, metal on bone. As they led him out, Emma peeked from the door. I knelt in front of her. "You did the right thing," I whispered. "You're safe now. I believe you." She didn't say anything, just curled her fingers into mine, like she was holding on for dear life. Behind us, Patricia stared through the storm door. "I'll never forgive you for this," she said, voice like stone. I didn't answer. I just buckled Emma into the ambulance and followed the flashing lights into the night. The waiting room at Bloomington Children's Hospital smelled like disinfectant and distant coffee. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, and every ticking second made the cold from outside crawl deeper into my bones. Emma sat on the exam table, bunny tucked under her chin. Her feet didn't reach the edge, just dangled and swayed, as if her body hadn't caught up with the storm breaking around her. The pediatrician was kind and gentle. She spoke in soft tones, asking Emma questions about school, about her bunny, before delicately moving into more clinical territory. I held my daughter's hand the whole time. Every flinch of hers was a dagger in me. Afterward, while Emma sipped apple juice in a quiet corner, the nurse handed me a folder of pamphlets. Trauma Response in Children, What to Expect Next, Mandatory Reporting Guide. I couldn't read a single word. The papers blurred under my trembling fingers. By morning, I had given my full statement to Detective Carla Luring, a woman with short, silver-streaked hair and a voice like a warm coat. She never rushed me, just took notes, nodded, and occasionally looked up with eyes that said, "I've seen this before, and I won't let you face it alone." We returned to our small duplex around noon. Emma walked in like the hallway might cave in. She lined her sneakers by the door. Neatly, precisely. A detail I might have overlooked any other day, but not this time. She said nothing, just curled up on the couch, clutching Bunny like a lifeline. The house was too quiet. At night, Emma slid into my bed without asking. Her little fingers found the hem of my sleeve and clutched it. I wrapped my arms around her. My body stayed still, but inside, I was running. Running from the question clawing through my mind. How long? The next morning, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Hello? Miss Collins? This is Megan Grant, a counselor at Meadowbrook Elementary. I'm Emma's school therapist." My stomach dropped. "She's safe, don't worry. But I'd like you to come in. There's something you need to see." By 2 p.m., I was sitting in a small office with beige walls and construction paper hearts taped along the trim. Megan slid a piece of red construction paper toward me. Emma's drawing. It was a child's sketch, but it screamed. A jagged chair with sharp, blood-colored spikes. A stick girl with giant blue tears. Off to the side, a black scribble with teeth. In messy crayons, one label stood out. "Grandma's chair." "She said it hurt," Megan whispered. "She said that's where it happened." My fingers gripped the table. "We've already submitted a follow-up to Child Protective Services," she continued, "and we've connected with the school resource officer." I nodded, but I felt like I was underwater. The chair. That cursed dining room chair. How many Thanksgivings had I sat across the room, praising Emma for sitting nicely while she was living in a quiet hell? That night, Emma didn't eat much. She pushed her chicken nuggets around the plate with her fork, eyes distant. "Can I sleep with you again tonight?" she asked. "Of course, sweetheart." We curled into bed, a tangled knot of limbs and soft breathing. Then she whispered something that carved straight through me. "There's something I didn't tell you yet, about the game he played." I turned to her slowly. "You can tell me anything. Always." She hesitated, then said, "Uncle Brian said it was called the quiet game. If I didn't make a sound, I was a winner." My blood turned to ice. "And if you did?" "He'd press my legs down, pinch me. If I cried, I had to start over." I couldn't move. I couldn't even blink. She added, "He said good girls don't fidget." Did? Did anyone else know? My voice barely formed the words. She nodded. "Grandma saw once. She said I was being difficult." The fury inside me didn't erupt. It condensed. It became a core of molten steel in my chest. When Emma finally drifted off, I slipped out of bed and shut myself in the bathroom. I screamed into a towel, cried until I had nothing left. Then I turned on the light and washed my face. By dawn, I had gathered all of Emma's drawings, medical records, and notes from school. I called Julie from CPS, told her everything. She disclosed additional abuse, I said. More details, frequency, involvement from her grandmother. Her tone shifted instantly. "We'll schedule a forensic interview this afternoon. Can you bring her to Riverstone Child Advocacy?" "Yes," I said. "We'll be there." Riverstone looked like an old farmhouse, repainted in soft blues and teals. There were toys in the waiting room, but Emma didn't touch them. She just sat there, braiding Bunny's tail over and over. Through the one-way mirror, I watched the therapist greet her, offer her a juice box, and start gently. Emma was brave. She answered every question, clear, polite, steady in the way only the most broken children can be. She showed them her bruises. She told them about the chair. She told them Brian said, "If you tell Mommy, she'll get taken away." I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. But I stood frozen, watching my daughter be the bravest person in the room. When the interview ended, Julie met me in a side office. "We're opening a formal investigation. We'll also file a temporary restraining order today." I nodded. "Can I apply for guardianship of Emma?" Julie hesitated. "You're not her legal guardian, not yet. Her mother still has custody, technically, but with this documentation, we can request emergency measures." That evening, my phone buzzed again. A message from Danielle. "Stop this, or we'll take her from you." I stared at it. The same woman who once called me Emma's second mom was now threatening custody like a weapon. I didn't reply. I didn't scream. I just sat there. And I remembered something. The day Emma was born, I was rushed to the hospital straight from work. Danielle had been pale, exhausted. I held Emma first. "She's yours too," Danielle had whispered. "Promise me, if I ever lose myself, you'll be her anchor." I had promised. And I would keep that promise, even if I had to fight everyone in my family to do it. By the next morning, I had made an appointment with Anna Morgan, a former college roommate, now a family law attorney with a reputation for fighting like hell when children were involved. We hadn't spoken in years, but when I texted her what was happening, she responded within minutes. "Come in tomorrow. I'll clear my calendar." Her office was neat and bright, tucked inside a low-rise building just off Kirkwood Avenue. Casebooks lined one wall, and her degree from Indiana University hung above a mahogany desk. She didn't offer pleasantries, just coffee. I declined. "Tell me everything," she said. So I did. Every whisper, every drawing, every look my daughter gave me was in silence. Every red flag I had buried under excuses and family pressure. I even showed her Danielle's text. "Stop this, or we'll take her from you." Anna's face didn't change much, but her eyes did. They sharpened. "They're testing you," she said flatly. "That's what people like this do. Push to see if you'll flinch." I looked her in the eye. "I'm not flinching." "Good," she said, "because it's about to get messy." She explained the legal maze. Danielle was still Emma's legal guardian. If she wanted, she could petition the court for full custody and try to paint me as emotionally unstable, interfering, and obsessed. If the court believed it, they could take Emma away. But if we can show Emma's in danger and document every step, Anna said, we can push for emergency guardianship. It's not easy, but it's possible. I swallowed the knot rising in my throat. What about the rest of the family, if they back her up? They will, Anna said simply, at first, until the truth gets louder. Just then, my phone buzzed. Another message from Danielle. Lunch tomorrow, just us. Let's talk like grown women. Anna narrowed her eyes. That's not an olive branch, it's bait. I know, I said. I'm going. The next day, I met her at a cheerful little cafe halfway between our houses. Red booths lined the walls. Sunshine spilled through the windows like it didn't know the kind of conversation that was about to happen. Danielle was already inside, sipping green tea like nothing had ever happened. Amanda, she said, rising to hug me. I didn't move. She sat back down, her smile faltering. I just want to clear the air. Emma's confused. You know how kids are, imaginative. I stared at her. She's sensitive, always has been. You're blowing this out of proportion. Then she reached into her purse and slid a thin manila envelope across the table. What is this? I asked, though I already knew. A compromise, she said. Inside was a draft custody filing, her intent to regain Emma officially. Alongside it, a silent agreement. If I dropped all claims, they wouldn't pursue legal action. You're trying to trade her trauma for your reputation, I said. Danielle's smile froze. Amanda, don't be dramatic. This is about keeping the peace. I leaned forward. Is that what Brian called it too? Keeping the peace while he hurt my daughter? She flinched, then hissed. You're making this worse. If you keep going, we'll fight back, and we'll win. I laid the envelope back on the table. Calm, controlled. No, I said softly. You've already lost her. The question is, what else are you willing to lose? I stood and left the cafe without another word. Outside, the wind had picked up. Cold enough to sting, but I welcomed it. It helped me stay upright. That night, Emma barely spoke. She picked at her cereal, eyes fixed on her placemat. Math going okay? I asked. A shrug. Want to work on your art project this weekend? Another shrug. She clutched her backpack with both hands, like a shield. When she left for school the next morning, I found her bag by the door, zipped. Something was sticking out between two spiral notebooks. I pulled it free. Another drawing. This one made my knees buckle. A little girl sat on a bench, legs apart. Red crayon lines slashed across her lower body. A larger figure stood behind her. Stick limbs, angry eyebrows, labeled Uncle B. To the side, two more figures. Mom and Grandma. Both turned away. The paper shook in my hands. Then I heard footsteps. Emma had come back, forgotten her lunch. She froze in the doorway. Her eyes went to the drawing, then to my face. I'm sorry, she said, her voice high and cracking. I didn't mean to draw it. I just didn't know how else to say it. I rushed to her and pulled her close. You never have to be sorry, I whispered. You are brave, and I believe you. That afternoon, I picked her up early, took the drawing straight to Miss Wheeler, the school counselor. Emma sat beside me, quiet but watchful. Miss Wheeler studied the picture, her lips pressed tight. Sweetheart, she asked gently, did you draw this? Emma nodded. Miss Wheeler locked her office door, then picked up the phone. Within the hour, the school filed another CPS report. The principal, Mr. Alston, came down himself. Whatever you need from us, he said, his voice soft but steady. We'll stand with Emma. Just tell us how to help. It was the first time since this nightmare started that someone said those words. That night, Emma crawled into bed beside me again. As I wrapped the blanket around us, she looked up. Do you think they'll believe me this time? I swallowed hard. I wanted to scream yes. I wanted to promise. But instead, I brushed her hair from her face and whispered, "We'll make sure they do." And I meant it, with everything I had left in me. The next morning, my phone vibrated as I stood by the stove, flipping eggs no one felt like eating. It was Miss Wheeler. "Ms. Collins, I think you need to come in." Emma left her school tablet in the reading nook. When I plugged it in to charge, I found a recording. She paused. "It sounds like it may have started by accident, or maybe not." 20 minutes later, I was parked behind the school library, the tablet in my lap. I opened the file. The first few seconds were just static. The soft shuffle of sheets, distant footsteps, then voices. A woman, my sister Danielle. "I told you, don't let her say too much at school." Then another voice, older, sharper. "She needs to learn. If she keeps flapping her mouth about that man, he'll go to jail. And then we all lose." My hands tightened around the steering wheel. My pulse throbbed behind my eyes. Emma's small voice broke through next. "But it hurts." Then Danielle barked a reply. "Then stop acting like a brat." What came next wasn't words. It was a slap and a sharp sob. Then, "Mommy, please don't let him." The rest were crying, muffled and jagged. I stared straight ahead, hands trembling so hard the tablet nearly slipped from my lap. Then I did what any woman who had spent time helping victims of domestic violence would do. I opened my phone's voice memo app, hit record, replayed the file into the mic. Then I dialed Marcia Doyle, a legal advocate I'd once worked with during my shelter days. "Marcia, it's Amanda. I have a child under my care. A recording. Emotional abuse. Physical harm. Witness tampering. We need action. Now." She didn't hesitate. "Bring me the audio. We'll file an emergency petition. That's enough for a judge." "I'm going to court," I said, staring through the windshield, "and I'm going to fight like hell." By the time I got home, Emma was already back from early dismissal. She sat at the kitchen table, pencils scattered around her, her posture stiff and careful. When she saw me, she didn't smile, but she looked up, really looked, waiting. She slid a piece of paper toward me. It was a drawing. Her, standing tall. A shadowy figure behind her with glowing red eyes. In one hand, she held a shield. On the shield, in her blocky handwriting, she'd written, "Aunt Amanda." I knelt beside her, forehead against hers. "This time," I whispered, "no one is going to silence you." That night, I stayed up organizing notes, printing out emails and labeling copies. Emma fell asleep on the couch with her drawing across her lap. I carried her to bed, tucked her in, and left the hallway light on. We were out the door before the sun crested the trees the next morning. On the drive to the courthouse, Emma reached across the center console, her tiny pinky hooking around mine. "Is this what bravery feels like?" she asked, almost too softly to hear. I looked at her, eyes full of tears, and I finally let them fall. "Yes," I whispered. "Bravery feels like breathing when the air is thin." At the courthouse, the floors were marble and cold. Every footstep echoed like we were walking through a cathedral of judgment. I straightened Emma's hair clip just outside courtroom B. "Truth isn't rude," I said softly. "It's just loud enough to be heard." She nodded, lips pressed tight. Inside, Judge Harold presided. Stoic, thoughtful, tired eyes behind round glasses. Anna stood beside me. Emma's mother, my sister, entered seconds later, trailed by our mother, Patricia, and a man in a gray blazer with a stiff smile. "The respondent has brought an expert witness," the clerk read. Danielle rose. "Your Honor, this is Dr. Randall Kane, licensed therapist. He'll address concerns about Amanda's behavior." Kane took the stand. Oily voice, smooth words, dangerous calm. "I've reviewed Ms. Collins' behavior in social media. There's an obsessive savior complex, common in unresolved trauma survivors. Children in her care may adopt these narratives." Anna slid a note to me under the table. "Not licensed in Indiana. Reprimanded in Nevada." When it was our turn, Anna stood. Your Honor, Exhibit A, an audio recording from the minor's school-issued tablet. She hit play. The courtroom held its breath as Emma's tiny voice said, "It hurts!" Danielle's voice snapped. A slap. A cry. Behind me, a chair creaked as someone shifted sharply. Judge Harold's expression darkened. Exhibit B, Anna continued. Disciplinary actions were filed against Dr. Kane by the Nevada Board of Behavioral Health. Suspended license. Unethical conduct. Then to Kane. Are you licensed in Indiana? He hesitated. My application is pending. No further questions. Judge Harold adjusted his glasses. I've heard enough. Temporary emergency custody is granted to Amanda Collins. A criminal investigation into Brian Walters is ongoing. A no-contact order is hereby placed against Danielle Walters and Patricia Walters until further review. Danielle's lips parted, but no sound came. Patricia didn't even try to speak. For once, silence was theirs to wear. Outside the courtroom, Emma and I sat on a bench in the sunlit hallway. Her head rested against my side. Reporters lingered by the security desk, but no one approached. She looked up. Can I go home now? I kissed the top of her hair. We're building a new one, just for you. 2 weeks later, that memory still burns bright, like a porch light we can always return to. Our new rental is small, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. But every door swings open without a key, and every wall smells like paint, not secrets. Every morning, I wake to the sound of Emma's bare feet on hardwood, the scent of pancakes and maple syrup. She lines her sneakers neatly by the welcome mat. First thing. Always. Proof that she no longer expects to be whisked away without warning. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, therapy. The off days? School, art class, soft music on the stereo. Emma's voice has returned slowly, gently. One quiet Thursday, she came into the living room, holding another drawing. Stick figures, numbered 1 through 4. Me, her. Grandpa Jack, my father, smiling, holding a guitar. Then the 4th one, a stick man inside a shaded rectangle. Angry mouth. Label, Uncle Ben. I froze. Uncle Ben. Danielle's bachelor brother, the one who always brought candy and magic tricks. He hadn't been in any report. No one had mentioned him. Honey, I said carefully, why is Uncle Ben in a box? She looked down. That's my room, at Grandma's. He used to come in after the game. A slow, cold thunder rolled across my chest. I snapped a photo of the drawing and sent it to Detective Luring. Within minutes, she called. We missed him, she said. I'm sending a team. We'll interview other children from those dinners. 5 days later, the call came again. Ben Walters was in custody. 2 other minors had corroborated Emma's story. Danielle had told police, I thought something felt off, but family comes first. That night, I found Emma outside, watering the sunflower starts we'd planted by the back fence. They grow slow, she said, toes wiggling in the dirt, but they get big when they're ready. I smiled, tugged her hat's brim. Just like you. The next day, our mailbox squeaked. A cream-colored envelope inside, addressed in my mother's neat, looping handwriting. I stared at it for a long moment, before I tore it open at the kitchen table. Emma sat nearby, coloring a castle with a pink crayon. The letter felt heavy. Heavier than paper should be, like police lights, like orders signed with trembling hands. But real rescue? It looked like this. A shoe rack by the door. A drawing pinned to the fridge. A child finished her dinner because no one was rushing her. Later, Emma yawned and pushed her plate aside. Does this mean I'm safe now? I pulled the knitted blanket up over her shoulders and kissed her hair. No, baby, I whispered. It means you're home. That night, I didn't wake to cries. No footsteps padded into my room. No little hand tugged at my sleeve. But in the middle of the night, I woke up anyway, out of habit. I walked softly down the hall and peeked into her room. She was there, asleep. Deep, easy breathing, arms wrapped around Bunny. The drawing of the shield was still taped above her bed. The moonlight filtered through the window, touching her cheek with silver. And I thought of everything it took to get here. The trial had come and gone. Testimonies were heard. Danielle cried on the stand, insisting she didn't know. Patricia trembled when the audio recording was played. Brian stared blankly ahead, like he'd been caught in the wrong movie. The court had ruled in my favor. Official guardianship was granted. Danielle's parental rights were severed. Uncle Ben's sentencing was scheduled for October. The newspapers used words like landmark case, courageous aunt, and systemic failure. But none of that mattered to Emma. All she cared about was the world inside our house. The crayons. The pancakes. The sunflowers are inching taller behind the fence. The first night, she slept with the bedroom door closed. The first time she laughed from her belly. The first time she ran through the sprinkler, shoes off, arms wide. The first time she didn't flinch when a man spoke loudly at the grocery store. Those were the victories. A few months later, we got a knock at the door. It was Mrs. Wheeler from school, holding a small package. "Emma entered a writing contest," she said, smiling. "Didn't tell you, huh?" Inside was a handmade book titled The Shield. On the first page, once there was a quiet little girl, but her aunt taught her how to be loud, and being loud made her feel safe. I couldn't speak, just held it in my lap as Emma beamed beside me. That night, she asked to sleep with the light off. That's when I knew. We weren't just surviving anymore. We were living. In the quiet after the storm, I realized something. The truest kind of justice doesn't always come with a gavel. Sometimes it arrives in the form of breath steady, peaceful breath beside you in the dark. Emma's strength changed everything. Her small voice, her trembling hands, her drawings. Those were her truths. And because she spoke them, even when no one believed her, the truth grew louder than the lies. It wasn't easy. The cost was steep. I lost family, history, and certainty. But I gained something far more precious. The chance to build a new world where a child could heal in safety, where her voice mattered, where bedtime meant stories, not survival. The world outside our little house still spins, with its courtrooms and cold judgments and headlines. But inside? Inside, we've found something quiet and strong. Every sunflower we plant, every drawing on the fridge, every morning she lines up her shoes at the door. That's what rebuilding looks like. If you've ever been scared to speak or felt like your truth would tear things apart, remember this. Silence protects no one. And the people worth keeping are the ones who stay when the noise begins. Because when someone brave enough tells the truth, no matter how small they are, the world has no choice but to listen. So to those who feel broken, who wonder if they'll ever feel whole again, this story is for you. Keep going. Speak up. And when it hurts to breathe, know you're not breathing alone. Because somewhere out there, someone like Emma is learning what bravery feels like, one quiet morning at a time.